What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do something completely new. I'm starting a new video series and it's going to be specific to Grand Race routes. I want to show you a couple of routes in this video, show you all of the cuts, all of the pointers, much like I do with the Summit Guide. Just go through a couple of races of mine and point out any mistakes that I've made, talk about NOS points, talk about shortcuts, talk about dodging other cars, and if it's no collisions or not, just everything I can possibly think of to help you guys get faster at Grand Racing. That's the goal. All right, let's go. All right, so here it is, man. This is my Grand Race routes catalog. I've started taking screenshots of all the routes. I've got notes here as to which cars are going to be the fastest on each one, and then I have these little red boxes around these if I've got a clip like this one, for example. If I've got a clip of this race, and those are the ones that we're going to be going over in these videos. I'm going to be doing 2 races at a time because it just doesn't make sense for me to try to get all of these. I can only get 2 race clips made between the time the playlist starts and the new playlist that takes over in 20 minutes. So it's really difficult, especially on ones like, you know, this guy here, which is Wahiwa Fields, has 7, let me see if I can find it here, 8 different routes from Wahiwa Fields. Wahiwa? I don't know how to say it, but I'm sorry, I'm butchering it. Anyways, there's 8 different routes on this, and obviously you've got some that are main stage, some that are no collision, and there's going to be a little bit of crossover, but still 4 routes on that. You've got this guy here, Diamond Head, that has 7 unique routes. These are not you know, different modifiers. These are actual unique routes that are here. So there's a lot to talk about, and I can't really do all of it in one video. So we're just going to break this into 2 routes for the same hub, meaning, you know, Diamond Head, Wahiwa Fields, Monopele, and we're going to do that for each video. So I'm going to try to do this on a weekly basis. That way I can get you guys the most information possible, and I might be able to do more than 1 in a week. Who knows? But let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about Kaena Point, which is going to be AGP Street Tier 2 and Hypercar. And there's 2 different routes. They start in the same direction, and let's just get right into it, man. All right, so here's the route. This is what it looks like when you're in the Grand Races and you're registering. This one happens to have special weather, which is really just like a lightning storm that doesn't really affect the driving, so that's going to be a non-factor. But you start right here on the Kaena Point area of the map. You go up and make the right, and then we go along the coast here. We go up into the hills here, and then it transitions here in the middle of the hills, comes back around. You got all of these gutter sections here around the mountain, and then we go back up the hill, out and along the coast again to basically end where we start. So you can see it's definitely a twisty, windy road. For this one, the AGP section, you're going to be looking at the RB14. For the Street Tier 2 section, you want something that's really good with guttering, and that's going to be the F40. And then for the Hypercar section, there's really not any other choices than the Agera R. Now, there's obviously other cars that are fine. I would recommend using the car that you're the most comfortable with, but the car that's going to perform the best here is going to be the Agera R. So let's get into the video clip here, and we'll see how we do. All right, so AGP starts are an absolute nightmare. They always are. So there's a few things you need to understand. Number 1, you try to stay as inside as possible on these corners. This is going to help you successfully stay away from the wall. Notice my position here. Now, I would like to be where this phase guy is, because then you can get into the gutter and, you know, wrap around this turn, not have to worry too much about all of this. But if you get yourself here on the outside, like basically behind my head here, this is not where you want to be. If you're over here, you're going to be thrown into the wall 100% of the time. So the other thing is, you can't just full throttle through these corners either. I let off the gas a lot because I don't want to go to the wall. So I'm way off the gas in this corner. Notice I can take it on the inside, and I've got it full lock to the right. I'm trying to get as far right as possible. Even if I run into these guys, that's faster than hitting the wall and getting shoved and kind of stuck on the wall. So try to stay inside if you can. Now, at this point, I recognize there is an opening here. As I see that, I am nosing. You can see the nos is already on it. Simji is right behind me. He's also nosing, and we are going to try to just slip our way right past all of these people. And this guy comes over onto us. So now you got Simji who hits this guy, which it definitely slows him down a little bit. I stopped nosing because I was worried that this guy was going to send me into the grass. He ends up not doing that. But we've got all kinds of stuff going on here. This guy's jumping over the mountain, which is like insane. These guys are just jockeying for position. And when you're going too wide on a 1-lane road, there's going to be a lot of bumping, and people are going to be falling off the road. And so all I need to do is just try to stay clean, stay on the right side. I run into a few people, it's okay, but here's the key. I did not burn all of my NOS on that first corner. Remember when I said there was an opening and I was going to try to get past everybody? Had I burned all of my NOS at that point, I would not have had enough NOS to try to keep up with these guys at this point. So it's important that you wait until the right moment, until you see a clear opening that you can NOS through. And I strongly recommend, if you're in manual, to shift up a couple of gears and use the NOS in like 7th and 8th. So anyways, let's get going. Here we go. Bunch of people crash on that corner. I'm able to avoid this guy, and then we can get going. And Simji actually does a great job as well. Despite all the traffic, he's directly behind me. So now we're in slip, and we got to worry about these guys. The next tricky part of this race is not any of this stuff here, but the shortcut across the grass. So let's fast forward to that. So here we go. We're going through here, and then we get to this part. So this is at about 15% of the race. And I managed to get myself into first here on a couple of turns. This one, I do a little bit wrong. Now, the idea I had was right. The execution was bad. So what we want to do is go over this hill. You got to stay very, very tight. You're aiming for, basically, there's a rock here. You want to try to get close to that before you go off-road. You want to go a little bit more to the right than this, because the car jumps up just like that. You lose steering for slight amount of time, and then you're in the wall, which is exactly what happened to me, and I lost a ton of speed. I also crashed everyone else out with me, so I ended up having a chance here. But you basically want to be way more right, because you want to just continue onto this path right up the road here and keep going. Now, I obviously messed that up. I took them with me. Fortunately, not fortunately for them, but fortunately for me, I took them with me. And then we started going up the hill. Now, Simji crashed out on like a previous corner because someone else forced him off the road. But he'll be back. Trust me. I've already seen this. All right. Nothing tricky here. Let's get up the hill. This last corner here is a very tough corner. You can take it a little slower. I recommend this in 3rd gear. It works well for the AGP. Then upshift quickly and use a little bit of NOS. You don't want to use a bunch. Save your NOS a little bit for after this turn. This is where you want to blast. This is a straight section. Blast your NOS. Notice the difference between what I did and what they did. I just put a huge gap on 2nd place. Let's go back just so you can see. This is important. Look where they are right here on the minimap. And then after the corner, blast. Look at the gap that I just made because of that. I broke slip just because of that one NOS point. All right, let's get going. Now, all of these corners down the hill, this is all going to be, 4th or 3rd gear, depending on the corner. I think it's all 4th, actually. Yeah, all 4th gear. And now we transition into Street 2. Now, in Street 2, I'm in the F40. The first issue you need to think about is right here at this turn. This is at 38%, 39%. I cut this grass here, and then I extend the turn out into the dirt here. Don't worry about the road too much. Go right near the wall. Then you can cut this checkpoint a lot. It's very generous. Notice how far outside the checkpoint I am, and it still gives it to you. Now, the idea actually is to turn a little bit more sharp than that, because I don't want to end up in the dirt when I come out of this. So we come out here, cut the checkpoint, and the car jumps a little bit, so I'm in the dirt, and that messes me up. But that's the basics of what you want to do on that corner in Street 2. Now, it does change from class to class, so we might see this in a future video, and I might tell you, hey, this is different in this class. Now, the rest of these turns, this is all gutter. This is all gutter. Just, you got to learn how to gutter. If you want to be fast at this game, it's a huge thing. I do have a guttering guide if you want to check that out. If you haven't seen it already, I'll put a link in the description for you. And once we get through the tunnel, there's nothing tricky here. There is another shortcut here at the end, right at 64%. It's a pretty well-known one, but I'll point it out anyway. Cut across the grass here, or the dirt, excuse me. And then anytime you're going into a transition from car to car, you need to empty your tank. You need to empty your NOS tank every time. There's no sense in hanging on to it. When you get the transition, it gives you a full tank of NOS with the new car. Now, this is an interesting point. Simji decided not to go across this dirt here, and it was obviously the right decision. But the decision was made based on there not being anyone around us. This cut I took because I don't know, I just feel more comfortable doing that without having to make that left-hand turn. That being said, it's the wrong move. I went across this dirt here, which you can do, but it just really slowed me down. Look at the gap that Simji was able to make because of it. And that's something you want to avoid if you're starting in that location. And I'll talk about that in a different video. You want to take that cut because you don't want to deal with people on that corner. If there's a bunch of people grouped up on that corner, you can take that cut just so you don't get crashed out. It's more of a safety precaution than an actual cut. So let's move on to the next little shortcut thing. All right, here's a point of NOS management. Notice I've got a full tank going into this left-hander at 72%. This one is important to have. Now, I end up messing up the turn a little bit, which kind of delays what I'm trying to do, which is to dump a lot of NOS here after this turn. But this is a great spot to dump it, and you want to have a full tank or close to it when you get to this turn. So basically, you want to hit this gutter, which I did, but I didn't steer it enough. And then when you get here, you're going to blast your, like, seriously blast your NOS, because on the next few parts of this track, your NOS gets to recover. So it's a great point to go ahead and dump. And if you do dump here, see, I used a little more than half of my NOS in that section. I would have used more had I stayed on the road. Anyways, it's a great place to NOS. You can put some separation between you and some people behind you in there. Now, obviously, heavy braking, heavy downshifting for this gutter. It's a very tough one to hit. A lot of people hit the wall on that one. If we move forward here, let's keep going, keep going. More and more and more gutter turns. All the way down this hill is gutter turns. All the way down. All right. So when you get to the bottom of this hill, though, just a little thing about NOS management. Notice I have a full tank again. It's intentional to have a full tank on these certain spots. Your NOS management, specifically with the Agera R, but basically all cars, it should be small taps of NOS to keep you going, and then large bursts when you get into the top gear. So you're basically trying to get to a point where if you use half your tank, that gets you to top speed, and then you can maintain it like with small taps. That's basically what you're trying to do. So small taps, small taps. Again, see, I'm not using a bunch. Little taps. And then I'm off the NOS here because I know I'm going to have to make this turn and then make this next gutter turn. And notice I'm going to be sitting at a full tank when I get out of this turn. I'm already there. And now I have enough NOS to continuously tap and gain speed at the same time. Right here up the hill, I use a little bit. And then I use a little bit more on the top. And then I wait for this downhill and I use a little bit more. The goal here is to get close to top speed. Notice I'm at 280. I got to 282, still 3/4 of a tank of NOS. That's the goal here. And that's kind of the end of this route. Let's move on to the next route. All right, here's the next route. Notice we're starting in the exact same place, and the Alpha GP section is mostly the same, but instead of going to the right of the hill, we're actually going to be going down the hill. So this little section right here, we normally would go right and we stay along the hill, go in through the mountain and go up. This time we're going left, and it takes us through this little city section and then along this highway to the transition. So this is a little bit of a different route for AGP. I'm just going to fast forward to the point where it's different right here. But basically, AGP, you're looking at RB14 again. Street Tier 2, you definitely do not want the F40 on this section. You're definitely looking for something with a little bit more top speed. I would choose the Supra. If you're in the F40 here, you're definitely going to lose slipstream with someone who has a higher top speed. So for this one, it's going to be RB14, Supra, and then the Agera R to finish it off here in the city section. All right, let's get to the video. All right, here we go. So this is the point at which we would have cut across the grass here and gone to the right. But in this route, we're going left. So for this turn, it's heavy braking, heavy downshifting. Try to stay inside if you can. It'll help you maintain speed through this corner. I just stay in slip. My goal here is just to stay connected to these four guys. AGP slipstream is the strongest in the game. It also has the longest distance, and the cars accelerate the fastest when you're in slip. So you cannot lose slipstream in AGP. You really just can't. It's a huge point of emphasis. Now, I know that these guys are going to dump. I know Simji's going to dump his NOS coming out of this turn, and I know I need a full tank, so I am definitely trying to keep that tank full going out of this corner. Now, notice this. Simji dumps completely. Like, we both are just on the NOS. This guy barely started using NOS. This guy's not using NOS yet. And because of that, oh, now they're both using NOS. Because of that, I use almost all my tank, and we both are able to pass both of these guys for this section, which is going to be important going into the next section. Now on this turn at 23%, you're going to want to keep your car as far outside as possible. I could have been even farther, and then you're going to turn in and make this cut. I get hit from behind. Luckily, I have enough braking power to slow myself down to not go off the road, but basically you want to cut it basically like Simji does, straight through this checkpoint banner here, and then across. I go a little bit wide, but it's enough to maintain on the road. You're also going to cut this one here. And in AGP, if you're not comfortable going over dirt in AGP, you need to keep your trigger all the way pulled. Like, the gas needs to be on all the time. If you let off the gas, the car is going to spin. Keep the gas all the way pinned, no matter what you're doing. Use your brake and your gas at the same time. Keep the gas pinned, use the brake to control your speed. You can also downshift if you're in manual. But in this case, I do a tiny little drift, and I'm able to control it going across, and I can get going again. Now, at this moment, I recognize an opportunity, and that is that the nearest car to me is far enough to where he could lose slipstream if we both dump our NOS. Now, Simji sort of waits a little bit so that I can stay in slip, but I dump it because I'm trying to get away from this. I want to establish a gap between us and the group behind us. However, T50S, he knows. He dumps also and ends up staying in slipstream. Notice the dump. He puts a gap between everyone else because they weren't expecting it. But this is where knowing where to use NOS and not actually comes into play. So anyways, he dumps, and now it's a 3-man race till the end. So now we're in slipstream, and we're going to take this cut across the grass here at 29. This is a pretty common one. You guys have probably seen it before. Across the grass. Again, keep your gas pedal to the floor when you go across the grass in AGP. All right, here, control speed, obviously, 6th gear here, and then use a little bit of NOS. Now, this is a cut that I don't see a lot of people taking, but this definitely is a much better way to take this corner. Brake really early. Start braking early and then cut across. Just grab the very side of that checkpoint. You can hit this dumpster. What you're trying not to do is hit this big pineapple or these 2 trees right here. Everything else is wide open and clear. You can just go right through here, and we all 3 successfully make it. Now we're on the really straight road. There's not a whole lot to talk about here, but there is, I think, one cut that I take towards the end of this highway section. So let me get to that. Actually, there's one right here at 39% once we get on. If this is the route and you're going right, you just cut over and go through the side of this checkpoint just like that, and it gives you allows you to keep a lot of speed there. I see a lot of people messing up on this turn as well. This is a gutter turn. Okay, this one, it seems like you're going to be going fast. You're on a highway, you're just going to keep going. This one is a gutter turn. You got to hit the gutter on this one in order to make this turn and not touch this wall. All right, let's fast forward to the part where there's a cut. It should be coming up here, right here. Okay, so on this is you can see on the mini map, this is a pretty tough left-hander. Simji stays on the road here. I take the cut, and watch what happens. We actually have a little bit of distance between us. You can see that here, a few car lengths. But watch what happens with the cut. I'm right now. I'm side by side with him. And he took that pretty well. I think he went into the dirt a little bit. If he would have taken it like really clean, he would have maintained his position. But I think he went a little too far into the dirt there and lost a little bit of time. That being said, that cut works pretty well, and because of it, I was able to get past him. And now we have T50 below or behind me with Simji following. This is another cut here to the right, 62. Go across the field or across the parking lot. Again, burning all of your NOS into the transition. And now we're in hyper. What's nice about this is we put a little bit of a gap between us and T50, and it gave us the opportunity to try to break slip. This is, again, if you're working with a friend, you communicate at this point. Just say, look, there's a gap, let's dump. And as soon as we got into hyper, we both dumped. Look at the gap increase. He's still getting his car at that point. He's lost slip because of the transition, and we just dumped and got out in front. Now, we both were going for that. Let's go back a little bit because this is a cut that's kind of interesting. So we were both going for this. He had a lot more speed than I did, so he actually took it on the inside. I tried not to kill him, and luckily I didn't kill him, but I think it really messed up his line because he ended up in the buildings on the other side. Anyways, you go close to this, you get close to this truck, and then you turn it back this way, and your goal is to try to get as close to, let's see if I can get a good picture of it, this thing right here. This wall right here, you're trying to get really close to this wall, and you just keep steering the car to the right you're trying not to hit this wall on the left side. You want to get clear of it. Now I cleared it, but unfortunately Simji had a little bit of desync. He actually on his screen didn't hit this wall, but it did on my screen, which caused me to run into him, and it caused us to lose a little bit of time, and our friend T50 actually caught up here. So let me show it to you in fast speed real quick. So we cut over, cut back over to the right. He hits me, I slow down a little bit, and now all three of us are back in slipstream. That's essentially the cut you want to take. Now here you can cut this corner as well and then cut this one as well. I did it a little bit slow there. Execution could be better for sure. Again, you're going to be cutting corners here at 77. Now, unfortunately, Simji's car jumped a little over the curb, hit the tree, and he ended up dying there. He makes an insane comeback, by the way, but let's just keep going. So you basically cut this corner here to the right, and then again to the left. Beware of trees. And then you're going to cut this corner as well to the right of these two big trees. These little you know, light poles and stuff you can break, but these big trees you can't. To the right of these trees. And then I went way too far right. I could have cut this way over closer to the building. This was definitely not the right angle. You want to be over by this surf shop on the left side. So you cut across the right side on the right side of the trees, then cut it back to the left, and just don't hit the building, and you will have a very nice line coming out of here, and you can do this very fast. I messed up and hit the wall. Unfortunately, so did T50. Into this corner, this is a big one. T50 takes the sidewalk, makes a nice turn. I take the cut, which is way too early and causes my car to jump a little. I lose control enough to barely clip this palm tree, and that's basically the end of my race there. Let's keep going. Now, a lot of times here, if you're at full speed, you can take this cut here on the left. You don't need to stay on the road there at all. Then you're going to line yourself up here at 90% on the left side near the wall. Cut it back right. Make that corner cut. That's the fastest way to take that corner. All right. And then this is basically, there's two more cuts left. So here at 94, you can go through the wall to slow yourself down. Again, there's a little brick wall here. You can go right through it. You can take that a lot faster than I did. I was just trying to make sure I was surviving that. Cut the corner here at 96. Then you're off. Now on this one, I chose to cut the corner. You can gutter it if you're really good at it. Cutting the corner is much safer for me. I think cutting the grass, depending on the class, is going to be faster. In Hyper, the Agera has such a good lateral G that it actually can take that turn with a lot of speed. So I think in this particular case, the Agera would take that corner and you wouldn't want to cut it. But for me, it's just habit, and it felt a little bit safer for me. I didn't want to die on that corner. So there you go. Anyways, that's it for these routes. I want to make sure I'm clear with you guys on these videos. I am not the best in the game, right? I'm not trying to take any of the casual racers and the grand races and turn them into Simjis, because if I'm honest with you guys, I don't have all of that knowledge. But what I'm trying to do is help you guys go from being a casual player who's midfield all the time to being someone who can finish on the podium and win grand races. So that's my goal. I'm going to show you everything that I know about it, and hopefully that helps, and hopefully you guys see some value in that. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys watching. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.